Hello, hello, hello. It is Friday night, and we're in the final stretch. This is going to be a fun one. Every single month, as an entrepreneur, a business owner, someone who has used a lot of free education, free assets that have been created by other mentors, speakers, authors, trainers, and people in business. Every single month, I make it one of my endeavors to come in live and create some type of a training asset, some type of inspiration, principle-based teaching, or some kind of a takeaway for entrepreneurs and really 6 and 7 figure generators in the making. So if you found yourself in this group, the Xtina Harmsworth Empire, that means that you have a calling on your life. Something in you has called you for more. And if already you're lit up in agreement with that, you can just drop me some lightning bolts in the comments. What you're going to find out about me is I love the lightning bolt emoji. I always ask for it. And I'm also a big fan of asking for your interaction inside of a workshop. Now, if you're one of the people that actually showed up on a Friday night to do this with me, that tells me a lot about you. There's a lot of people who will come in and they'll get the first day of a training. There's people that will come in and they will get perhaps the second day of the training. And then there's people who actually show up for the final day. So whether you're watching live or you're catching this on replay throughout the weekend, I want to say congratulations for being the type of person, the tiny percent of the percentage of the population that actually shows up and finishes at the finish line. So congratulations to you. You're already so different. You're already so different. If you're here on a Friday night, or if you're catching this on the replay on Saturday or Sunday because you're like, no, I really wanted this. I wanted to be a part of this. I wanted to hear day 3. You're automatically different. I want you to feel how special and different you are. Can you feel that you're a different kind of person? Can you see the difference in how many people were here for day 1 versus how many people are live today and how many people actually catch the replay this weekend? It's a different number. And I know to expect that. Don't know if you know this, but across the entire self-development and coaching space, there's a less than 14% finish rate on programs. Whether it's paid for or a free asset, it takes an exceptional kind of human to actually finish a free asset. It's a risk that I take every time that I decide to dedicate 2 or 3 days to creating a free training asset to educate, inspire, and motivate other entrepreneurs. I know that by day 3, it's going to be less people, but also I know that those people are the kind of people that I like to walk with. There's a different commitment level. There's a different hunger. There's a different belief. There's a different possibility. So if you're a day 3er, just give yourself like a little and a little pat on the back because you're here. All right, guys. Day 3 of this workshop, I'm interested to know how many of you took your like your mantras and you put them around your house yesterday or today. If you put up even one, can you say, I did? And hi, Carrie. I got to connect with Carrie today on the Zoom. I loved it. If you put up 2, tell me. If you put up all 10, tell me. Because again, that's a different kind of person. It rocks my world that just 3 short years ago, I was learning the stuff that I'm talking with you about today. I was changing my mindset around debt. I had been part of a debt like consolidation community for about 5 years. And really, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be consumer debt free. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being, financially wise. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to make a kind of bold statement. And that is that I sense that poor, like poverty level, and I've lived at poverty level a couple times in my life, scraping to get by, scared. Poor, poverty level, and middle class people are the targets of things like the debt snowball system, the consumer consolidation debt systems, the pay your debt down systems, the like reduce your budget systems, the one that tell you to, shop on the cheapest groceries that you can possibly eat, which long term kills your health. But like these programs for scaring people about debt, they target the broke, the poor, and the middle class. And so I myself was an easy target of this mindset to be terrified of debt. For years, I carried a lot of shame about debt. I felt like if I had any kind of debt whatsoever, if I owed anybody anything on a credit card or a payment, I felt less human because of putting systems in my ears from people that mean the best, like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, people that just vilify debt. Until about 2020, when I had scraped and survived and eaten the minimum and lived in a basement. There was a big stretch when we were in startup phase of our original company where I didn't even own a stove. I cooked my food for 2 years on a hot plate. We didn't have a full-size refrigerator. I had a mini fridge. My mom's watching live. She can tell you. She'd come visit us, and our grocery haul was tiny every week, and I cooked on a hot plate with 2 burners in someone's basement. I scraped. I did that life in order to have the badge of honor of saying debt free. And then about the end of 2018, I realized that wasn't the quality of life that I wanted to live, or it wasn't the quality of life that I wanted to live. I was living in a way that I didn't want to. That's the best way I can say it. Yeah, my mom was watching live and she said, "You didn't even take your vitamins." Like, I remember not even feeling like I was allowed to spend $40 a month on vitamins because we had our name, and we had our debt board, and we were paying off our debts, and it was just like this scraping survival type of a lack vibration. And I just got to this point where I was like, I hate living like this. If this is what it means to be consumer debt free, like, don't sign me up for this. Like, don't. I don't want to be signed up for being ashamed of being in debt. When the truth is, I was actually using my own credit cards, and I was using business loans to build a company, but people were shaming me like it was consumer debt. And so in 2019 and 2020, I just let it go. And instead of listening to the Susie Ormans and the Dave Ramseys and everyone like that who was shaming people about debt, I started hanging out with multi millionaires. These are not old school network marketers who were out of the business and teaching, a decade ago's information. I started putting myself in rooms in 2020 and in 2019 with people who were in the market right now. So if you're live, right in the trenches. It's a very different energy to be coached by people who are in the trenches right now building companies. There's one feeling of like mentorship, and write this down, right in the trenches. Put it in the chat. There is one thing about getting like ancient wisdom, and getting real wisdom from people who have built something phenomenal that you might want to build, who are maybe 20, 30 years older than you, 40 years older than you. And, maybe they've retired and they're telling you like the wisdom of their timelines. That is valuable, but there's a very different energy when you're being mentored by people who are in the trenches succeeding. And in 2019 and in 2020, I decided to put myself around people like that. And it put me in conversations like this. Yesterday's, day 1, day 2, and today, right now. Where I realized that the richer my friends were, and the richer that my peers were, and the richer that my mentors were, the less they wanted to use their own money. It was common and preferred to leverage someone else's money to invest in business ventures, real estate, business growth, business courses, classes, and education. I didn't see them using it for consumer debt, but I saw a lot of very, very, very wealthy people that had a completely different relationship with debt. I noticed that a lot of my peers and a lot of my mentors and the people that I was learning from, they would take as much debt as they would be given, especially if they could get a low interest rate. As much debt as they could get their hands on, they would take it. Is that kind of like blowing your mind right now? They weren't afraid of the burden of debt. They weren't afraid of a late payment. They didn't really care about a credit score. Can I tell you why? In case you forgot, you're in a workshop where I'm teaching you how to think and invest like the first generation millionaire that you are. Say it loud and proud, hand on chest. I'm a first generation millionaire in the making. And in order for you to name that and claim that and step into it, you've got to let go of some of the old programming that you've got, which is a fear of debt. So my coaches, my peers that I started surrounding myself with in 2019 and 2020, they were using debt like crazy. If they could get their hands on money for a real estate investment, if they could get their hands on someone else's money to do a business venture, they would do it. But it wasn't out of irresponsibility. These were not scam artists. These were not irresponsible people. On the polar opposite, these were people who were so dedicated to getting the W, getting the win. They were so dedicated and committed to winning that they would vet their investments, like we talked about yesterday and in day one. They would really, really, really only invest in something if they felt like, yep, this one's a winner. We've got high chances of succeeding here. They put their money in and they had the 10x mentality. I didn't know it then, but I can scout it out now because I have it. These are people that were saying, I'm either going to multiply my investment within a certain amount of time. If you're live, write timeline. Comment the word timeline. This is another thing that I need to explain to you, timeline. They had an expectation of how long it was going to take that investment to mature. And they were committed to getting their return on investment within the timeline. And if they did not extract the actual cash return on investment, if it was an L, they took the lesson and they doubled their money with the lesson. There's no loss. You either win, you get the return on your investment because you're committed to getting it, or if this investment goes south, you make it pay you for the rest of your life with the wisdom, and you go out and you get a better deal. This is the 10x mentality that I can tell you now because now I live it. But this 10x principle, no one taught this to me. I know there's cool people like Grant Cardone, and his whole company is called 10x. I don't really know that much about him, so I'm not teaching you someone else's stuff. I'm teaching you my life. So one of the biggest shifts that I made as a first generation millionaire that I highly suggest that you do is start getting taught by people who are in the trenches building businesses in real time, whatever industry you're in. I see my friend Hannah's watching live. She's in real estate. So if she wants to learn how to do better deals, it's like, go actually learn from someone in real estate who's doing the kind of deals that you want to do. Get that mentorship. Vet the investment if there's a cash investment involved, but like, you want to learn from people who are doing it in real time, not somebody who sold real estate 20 years ago and is telling you what worked back in their day. Does that make sense? So number one, work with people and learn with people who are in the trenches right now, crushing it. Number two, you've got to understand timelines. And this part, I can't stress enough, because I meet people, especially in the quality of work that I do, which is I mentor entrepreneurs and I help them elevate their sales for all different kinds of companies using the power of social media, business skills, and learning how to manage their state to handle the success that they're asking for. This is what I do. Now, within my masterminds and my programs, I've met a lot of people who they're like under a lot of duress and stress. So they don't understand timeline. All they know is they see somebody who's successful, and it feels like if they pay somebody who is successful to teach them what to do, that they will also become an overnight millionaire. But your coach is not a casino. This isn't like pull the lever, lucky strike. I've been in masterminds with a lot of really wonderful people that did not 10x their investment, but I did. We got the same information. We took the same courses. We heard the same mentorship. Why did it work out for me? I can tell you 3 reasons. If you're here for it and you're ready to learn and you're ready for a paradigm shift, can you give me the lightning bolts and just let me know that your energy is in the room? Because I want to feel you. I want to know that you're here. The more energy you give me in the comments, the more I'm going to give back to you, because I have a lot to give. This has been my life for the last 3 years and I want to share it, but give you some lightning bolts if you're ready to hear. 3. The first one is timeline. I walk into an investment when I take a course or a class, when I sign up for mentorship, or when I put money into an investment, right? I walk in knowing a projected timeline. For example, when we put money in an investment account, I know that the maturation of that account, it compounds every 7, 10, 20 years. Those types of investments, they're wonderful to have, such as an insurance policy, etc. That's one of the ways that we've diversified, but like, it doesn't happen overnight, right? Same thing if you're somebody who invests in the stock market. You've got to be able to put money in and let it sit there. You can't get emotional about it. The money's just got to sit, and buying and holding on to it is most people's game plan, and that takes decades. Do you understand? There's a timeline on the investment. Does that make sense? If it does, right tracking. Same with real estate. It's like, you've got a timeline. If you buy a house, you put money into it, you got to know how much money you anticipate to put in for renovations. There's got to be wiggle room. You have to have a timeline for when you want the renovations done. You want a projected sale value, resale value. So you know from start to finish, flipping that house, your deal has a timeline for you to get the money back, your ROI plus some. You want to get your initial investment that you put on the house back out on a timeline. Anybody who flips houses, you're not trying to make that a 5-year process. You don't want to buy a house and renovate it for 5 years before you finally sell it and get your money back out. It doesn't really work like that. You want to be on a timeline and have projections and have an expectation. All right. The thing about the coaching industry, and Casey, exactly where I was going with this, the coaching industry, most people don't have a timeline. And in my opinion, this is a mistake. If you have an open-ended timeline on coaching, what motivation do you have to activate, to execute, to refine, to innovate? There's no one holding your toes to the fire going like, oh, we're on a timeline. Like, how's it going? And weirdly, in the coaching industry, that's beneficial for some coaches. They get paid the longer you stay stuck. Ooh. This is one of the things about a vetting process is you've got to work with people who are in the trenches, succeeding right now, crushing it, who want you to succeed. There's nuance to this. You don't want to be with some half-ass coach who's just like, oh, I'm happy to take your money and talk to you like for 4 seconds and hope you get it. There's very different levels of coaches and mentors. So watch for that. But here's what I want to say about having a timeline when you go into coaching. Nobody really had timelines for me. I put timelines on myself. So I expect the 10x principle. So part number 1 is having a timeline. I expect the 10x principle. So the 10x principle has a couple different parts. The first part of the 10x principle is this. I expect, me personally, I expect that whatever my financial goal is that I'm getting coached on, for example, if I really wanted to learn some social media strategy, but I wanted to make $1 million doing it, I should expect to invest 100,000 because that's 10% of my goal. Let's take it, because did anyone's brain just melt a little bit because I used the millions? I don't want your brain to melt. I want you to step into the 7-figure queue, but I'm going to bring it down a little bit. So check this out. If I wanted to make $10,000 and I don't have the skill to do it, I should expect to invest $1,000 to elevate my skill and close the information gap to get that 10K. Another beautiful example. I just got paid. Oh my God. Hey, girl. Another beautiful example is if you're trying to make 6 figures out of getting coached, so you want $100,000 in elevated revenue for your company, and you know that there's a skill gap to close, you should expect to spend about $10,000 to close the information gap. Does that make sense? So 10% of whatever your long-term goal is, for me, I expect that I'm going to have to invest that much to close information gaps and get support to get me to my next level. So part of the 10x for me is I just know 10% of my long-term goal, I'm going to spend it in coaching and mentorship. The other piece of this is with the timeline, watch this. If I'm going to spend $40,000 to get coached and mentored, and our timeline is I'm going to get coached and mentored for 6 months for 40 grand. I give myself that whole 6 months of learning, activating, implementing what I'm hearing, experimentation, getting feedback from my coach. I give myself that whole 6 months to learn. Now, am I implementing in the process of that 6 months? Hell yes. Am I getting quick wins and getting fast money because I'm a fast implementer? Hell yes. Am I already making more money inside of that 6 months while I'm getting coached? Hell yes. But say I start my coaching agreement January 1st and it takes me 6 months. So I'm through June. My timeline is I tell myself, I'm going to 10x my investment within the following year. I give myself 365 days to 10x the investment. So we started in January. I put in 40K. We ended in the summertime. I'm done. Within the next 365 days, I expect $400,000 out of me. Not out of my coach. They didn't make me any promises. They did not make me any guarantees. They showed up and taught me. It's up to me to implement. I'm the variable. But I put the expectation on myself to 10x. Now, that's radical. A lot of people do not agree with that. They think that that's like way too much. And a lot of people truly would be happy just to like 3 or 4x their money. They would be ecstatic. But for me, that's the 10x principle. Whatever my financial goal is, I know that I've got to get information and education and support to close that next gap. And I expect to invest at least 10% of that goal to get to it. So whatever my goal is, 1/10, I'm going to invest on self-development and skill development and closing that information gap. I give myself the end, like whenever that coaching agreement ends, I give myself a full 365 days to 10x the investment. And that's how I invest in myself. Most people don't walk in with that level of intentionality, and they're just like, whatever happens, happens. I sure hope this works. I'm going to put it on a credit card, and I can make payments on this forever. I could just pay the minimums until I die. And I mean, I don't know if this coaching relationship is going to work. I might not like it. Halfway through the container, you might freaking hate your coach. You might get your feelings hurt. You might take yourself out of the game. Come back 2 months later when you have 1 month left in your coaching relationship and put yourself under a bunch of pressure. I see these cycles with people all the time. But I'm going to tell you how I do the 10x rule, and it's this. I walk in with an intention. How much am I trying to generate out of this? I'm always trying to 10x my money. Always. I go in with a strong intentionality, and I give myself a year from the close of that coaching relationship to get the money. That's the 10x rule. It's knowing your timeline. It's knowing your intention, and only you're responsible for it. Because the thing about me and 10xing is nobody has to wake me up in the morning and tell me to go do it. I know. So for example, I told a story yesterday about, investing that $40,000. Initially it was 10 just to get my foot in the door of the mastermind, kind of like that portal offer that we put out there yesterday, which by the way, the cart is open on that until Sunday and then it shuts. But I had this opportunity basically in 2020, just 3 short years ago in 2020. My back was against the wall financially. We had a lot of issues because of, COVID. I lost a $30,000 deal that I had in product, no way to recoup the money. I had a 3-month-old. Brad's job got dissolved. And we were just looking at each other on the couch going like, what are we going to do, dude? Like, we got to pivot hard, right? And there was this opportunity that I could go take a course and learn some things about online sales presentations and structures and systems and just close this information gap that I didn't know how to do exactly, but I was going to go be in trenches with people that did know. So I put $10,000 down because I thought, okay, like I trust that I can learn here. And I had made a similar investment the year before and 10x'd it. So I had a lot of faith in myself that I could do this. Even though it was scary and I put it on a credit card, I did it. Put that initial 10K down. If you're live, right? 10K. In like February, March of 2020. It's 10K. In all honesty, they had a bigger mentorship that I really, really wanted. It was longer. It seemed more in depth. It seemed more high touch. It seemed like the ballers were in there. You know what I'm saying? Like the real ballers were hanging out in the 40K club. And I was like, man, I really think I want to do that, but I'm also a little bit not sure. I definitely was shaking in my boots at that $40,000. I was like, I don't think so. But I could stomach 10K. So I put 10K down. And they gave me like a portal. Limited time offer that I could come in and I could binge all their content. I could show up and get coached live. I could go to any of their live trainings that they had while I had my pass. $10,000 pass into their $40,000 mastermind. I was like, all right, I'm in. So I did it. And within that first short time frame that I was kind of like on a trial run with them, I was like, okay, I'm learning enough in here that I can go implement on right now. And I got a couple quick wins. If you're live, write quick wins. Because you want some quick wins. You don't want to be the kind of person that goes and listens to a training and it's like a self-help training. And you write a lot of notes and then you go put them on the shelf and it becomes shelf help. Not self-help, but shelf help. Doesn't help the fucking shelf. Instead, you want to be team quick wins. You want to be the kind of person that literally like listens to a training and goes and activates on that training and gets some quick wins immediately so that you can kind of see if this is the right thing for you. So I'm team quick wins out here. I was in this like pass for several weeks and I binged the content with Maeve like laying on me. I plugged it into our big screen and I was just laying there holding Sloan, watching trainings on TV, and I got some quick wins. I got some fast cash out of it. And it gave me the faith and the confidence, and it justified me staying and extending my payments and staying in for the whole $40,000 thing. So I did it. This is where timeline comes in, because you want to get some quick wins while you're inside the program. You want to implement fast so that you got a coach and you can ask them the questions that you have as you implement, right? So I got some quick wins and I was able to stay for a 40K investment. So if you're live, write 40K. So now the heat is on. This is the most I've ever spent on coaching in one fell swoop. I had spent $15,000 on coaching before. I had spent $10,000 on coaching before. It was always like the low 5 figures, you know? And all of a sudden, like I was getting enough quick wins with this elevated information that I was like, oh snap, okay, I'm gonna stay for the whole 40K. So I put it on payment plans. I was paying like $5,000 a month. It was scary. It seemed like I was making money to kind of like pay down the credit card because the next payment was coming. And I toyed with that game throughout the summer. It definitely felt like some pressure, but also I knew that I was getting the information in there that was just like going to help me rise like crazy. And again, I was out there for quick wins, right? Quick wins. I went after quick wins that summer. So I put down my initial 10K in like February, around the pandemic, February, March. I elevated to 40K very shortly after. That summer, we made $90,000 in revenue based on the information that I learned in that mastermind. 90K. I was like, all right. Okay, we got something here. By Christmas time in 2020, we were celebrating our first $120,000 month in revenue. Very exciting stuff. But what about that timeline? See, the thing about coaching and getting mentored is that my coaching relationship had ended. The mastermind was done. If you're live, just do me a favor and just repeat after me. Hand on heart, say, it ages well. Tap it in. If you're getting coached by someone right now, I want you to tap this frequency into your body that it ages well. See, the application of information, it's like a fine wine. When you decide to be the person that gets quick wins and you take information instead of writing it as notes and sitting it on a shelf and saying, okay, now it's shelf help. No, this is like a fine wine. Application of information at age as well. So if you're live, make this statement, tap it into your body, tap the frequency into your body, and say, the results far outlast the coaching relationship. The results far outlast the coaching container. Just say that out loud and tap it into your body. The results far outlast the coaching relationship. Take that and make it yours. This was my belief. I learned a lot in that mastermind for $40,000. I binged their vault. I showed up to as many live trainings as I could. I used the options for Q&A. I asked my questions. I would go and implement on whatever they told me to do, and I would come back and say, I tried it, and here's where I fucked it up. Tell me what to do now. And when that relationship was done, when that coaching relationship was done and the mastermind was complete, put this in the chat. The results outlast the coaching commitment. Write that down. The results outlast the coaching commitment. So we completed, probably October or November of that year. It was a pretty short mastermind. It was like a half a year, maybe 9 months. And yes, I got quick wins and I made a bunch of money while I was in the mastermind. But the thing about buying information and getting mentored is that that skill stays inside of you. And as long as you want to implement on the skill, it's yours forever. So I was not under the impression that whenever I was done with this mastermind, that I was no longer connected to the information. The information came out of the mastermind in my head and into my business. And so I set the clock on myself. And when that mastermind ended, I said to myself, I'm going to 10x my initial investment of $40,000 within the next year. So I give myself from this day until 365 days out to 10x my investment. I had already hit a bunch of it while I was inside the mastermind, but there was more to do. So that was all in 2020. Let's do some fast math. If you're going to 10x $40,000, how much money are you looking for? What's 40,000 10x'd? Tell me in the chat. Tell me math. Show me your math skills. If you put $40,000 in, how much are you trying to get out as a return on investment if you're Christina Harmsworth with the 10x principle? Exactly. Amy Peterson's Fast with the Draw, $400,000. So I set an expectation on myself that within a year of this coaching commitment ending and this particular mastermind, I was looking to have generated $400,000 with the information that I learned there. Most people don't go into coaching relationships thinking like this. Most people go into coaching not seeing it as an investment. There's a lot of cute hashtags on Instagram that say, invest in yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I get it, but I for real want a return on investment out of my brain. I don't go in haphazardly giving people tens of thousands of dollars hoping it works. And here's the other part, whether I like the coach or not. because sometimes you don't really know what it's going to be like inside of a mastermind. And I've bought masterminds where I was like, I don't really care for this person, but I'm still going to get my 10x. I don't really care for the other people in this mastermind or in this class. They don't really stimulate me. I buy stuff all the time where there's a whole community connected to it, and I don't even tap into the community because I don't have time for that. But I go in and I get the information, and I expect the 10x out of myself within a year of when it closes. So I was looking for 400K within a year of when it closed. So what do y'all think happened in 2021? What did we do? The following year, we did $430,000 in business. We had also added an extra $200,000 to our revenue the year before when I was in the mastermind. This is what I ask of myself. I've done it over and over and over again. Another wild example of this was the following year. So that was 2021, right? And I was like, well, damn. What if I wanted to do $1 million in a year? Because we had 2021, that was $430,000. We got pregnant, had a baby in there. We still went up in revenue the next year, even with being pregnant and having a baby, which is a feat of craziness. Most people say you can't do that. The following year, which is 2022. Now, am I saying this right? We had a $430,000 year. We had a $500,000 year. I don't want to say this wrong. No, I'm wrong about this. 2020 must have been $430,000. 2021 would have been just under $500,000. No, just over 525. And then I asked myself, what if I want to make $1 million? What if I wanted $1 million year? Let's reverse engineer this using the 10x rule. If you are going to ask for $1 million in revenue and you are using that 10x principle, how much should you be investing in your growth? Write it down in the chat. $1 million times 0.10 for 10%. What's the number? This is when it gets wild because people are like, who the fuck buys $100,000 mastermind? Who does that? Somebody who wants to make $1 million. Somebody who's already 10x'd other investments and has the confidence that they can do it. Someone who goes in with intentionality. Someone who puts themselves on a timeline. Someone who executes. That's who. That's who does that. So while I was pregnant, I signed up and I put myself on the line for a $120,000 coaching investment. But it was because I had already done the 10x principle before so many other times. I knew I could do it. I knew I was the type that I don't just show up and listen to trainings and write notes and stick them on the shelf and turn my self-help into shelf help. I'm not here to help the shelf. I'm here to help the Xtina and my family and my own clients, because whatever I learn, I take it to my client base. My clients literally have a flipping treasure trove of information because now I've had 35 plus mentors living who know my name. Not my dead mentors like, Bob Proctor out here, God bless. No, living actual live people who have now mentored me. I've paid for their mentorship. I've spent $500,000 now on mentorship. These people know my name. They personally have helped me with my brands. And every time that I learn something new, I take it and I give it to my mastermind clients. So when you work with me, you literally get the best of like 35 mentors, and I'm in the trenches working alongside of you, which is such a vibe. So that's what gave me the confidence to just be like, all right, sign me up. Here's my card. But what people don't think about is the compound effect of this. So while I was pregnant with baby Maeve, I gave myself a year to work with somebody that was making like, I don't know, they've probably done $50,000 in business recently. 50 million. Did I say that right? $50 million in business in the last several years. That's about my age. They're in the trenches building right now. There's that word again, in the trenches. So while I was pregnant, I signed up and I understood my timeline. I wasn't trying to push and rush and make $1 million that year. I signed up for these courses and this coaching and this community, and I literally gave myself that year to understand the information, to hear it and to go get some quick wins and start activating on it and ask my questions like it was like basketball practice. If you think about coaching like basketball practice, you don't go to basketball practice and sit in the bleachers. See? Laura's so funny. Laura's watching live. She said, I honestly can't sit and listen to you. I'm probably fast walking a few miles between the kitchen and the living room. I'm ready to paint lines and do push ups. Listen, I will activate you, baby. You're in the right spot. So if you think about getting coached and mentored and like closing that skill gap and doing the self-development, if you think about it, it's like basketball practice. You don't sit in the bleachers and watch the whole basketball practice. You get out there, your coach might demonstrate something or like do a couple fast plays and like show you, and then you go try it. And the coach is watching you, or you're being like, hey, like I can't quite get this part. And the coach is like, I see what you did there. Tighten this up. You're out there getting quick wins and you're trying it while you're getting coached so that you can get the refinement while you're in practice. The thing is, like, you're not in the big game while you're in practice, but you're still moving in practice. You're still refining in practice. So I was pregnant with baby Maeve and I spent $120,000 on getting coached. And by the way, I financed that shit. I financed it. I said, hello, PayPal Capital. I took a loan out for that. I didn't use my own money. Get real. Come on. I have been around enough millionaires and billionaires that I was like, I am using OPM. If you're live, right, OPM. Other people's money, motherfucker. We are not paying cash for this. I will use someone else's money so that I can be comfortable while I'm in practice. Is it landing? OPM. Is it landing? So I took out a business loan for like $100,000 so that I could be comfortable while I was learning, so that I wasn't worried about paying bills. I wasn't worried about the payment. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It was just like, okay, well, someone else is funding my experience right now. I trust myself that I'm going to do the practice. I'm going to show up. I'm going to get some quick wins. I'm going to activate on this information. Hannah said it has officially landed. I wasn't stressing myself out over this. I had no guilt. I had no shame about using other people's money so that I could close my skill gap, because the thing is that it compounds. I gave myself that year to just be in practice, and we started crushing it. Like, I had baby Maeve. We made $90,000 in 90 days. Then we did the next 45 days. We made another 90,000. And then in the next month, we made another $90,000. And then it just became six-figure months on repeat after that. But my coaching commitment there ended. And I just said to myself, I'm going to give myself a full 365-day cycle to let this information and the integration of it continue to compound. The results far outlast the coaching commitment. The skill you got in practice goes with you to the game. So I invested $120,000 to learn. I gave myself a year to learn. I practiced while I was learning. I got some quick wins financially because I was activating on it. And we made $1.2 million in revenue. I believe it was in 14 months from the day that I started. So under a year from when my coaching commitment ended, crushed my goal. That's the 10x principle. Whatever your financial goal is, if you're having to close an information gap to get it, expect to spend 10% in courses, classes, mentorship. Expect to invest 10% to close the information gap, but then hold yourself to the line and give yourself a timeline like, okay, within a year of when I'm done with this course, I need to get this money back, period. Multiplied. The other wild thing about this, is like I learned things in that $120,000 mentorship that I can do every year for the next decade. As long as there's an internet, I can make $1 million a year based on that information that I got. I could do that for the next 10 years. So what was originally a $100,000 investment in myself, I can make $10 million off of that if I take no more classes. Do you understand that? That shit's insane. Let's take it back to that original investment that I made in 2020 of a $40,000 investment. I took that and I 10x'd the investment. I went from being somebody who was like, I'm kind of nervous of how we're going to feed our family in the pandemic. Like we were freaking scared. Backs against the wall with a newborn. My husband, his job got, eliminated. And we were like, what are we going to do? I went from that feeling in my body to being like, okay, I'm going to put $40,000 in. And by the next 365 days, I'm going to get 10x out. I promised myself this. I wasn't promising my husband. I wasn't promising my friends. I wasn't promising the credit card company. Because to be honest, credit doesn't scare me. What are they going to do to me? Call me? Okay. Bully me on the phone? All right. Weird. Come take my car. Okay, I know how to make like thousands of dollars in a day now based on this information, so I'll buy another one. Can you feel the level of freedom that having more information and more skill gives you? Is that not insane? Has anyone had a paradigm shift in the last 5 minutes? So going back to that original $40,000 investment, if I had never invested another dollar in coaching again, and all I did was spend 40 grand and make a promise to myself that I was going to 10x that money. Well, I 10x the money. Now I personally have the skill in business to make $400,000 a year. And if I spent no more money on coaching, I could continue to make $400,000 a year for the next decade. Well, $400,000 a year times 10 years is $4 million off of a 40K investment. I'm no longer scared of spending 40K to invest in my brain. Doesn't scare me a pinch. In fact, I have a lot more freedom around this than even my husband does. My husband still doesn't like debt. I have completely broke the debt paradigm for myself. In all honesty, if someone would give me a low interest loan for $10 million right now, I would take all of the money. I would take every last dot of it because I know that as I continue to grow my brain, I'm currently someone who can make more than $1 million a year. The more classes that I take, the more that I increase my knowledge, the more that I show up for practice, the more money that I make. I have no doubt that I'm going to be someone who makes $100 million a year at some point in my life. I have no doubt. I'm not afraid of debt. In fact, I would love to leverage other people's money to do what I want to do because I know I can 10x my investments. This is the 10x way of thinking. This is how to think and invest like the first generation millionaire that you are becoming. I want to make a stark line in the sand, though, between I'm not talking about consumer debt, I'm talking about business investment. Go back to yesterday when I talked about how to vet an investment. Don't make stupid investments and then come talk to me about it. Say, Christina told me to, because I didn't. I told you to vet your investments and be smart. Go in there with a timeline for yourself and go promise yourself you're going to 10x it. Understand? This is not a pressure cooker that you are going to promise your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your spouse, like, baby, if you give me this money, I'll go 10x it. It's not that kind of deal. My husband has never signed on the dotted line for my investments. I put them in my name. Every time I took a chance, I took the chance on me. Not on his credit. I took the chance on me. I financed my own way here. Every debt I took was in my name, with my social security number, my business EIN. I signed my own documents. It was me. So this was like a me versus me thing. This was not a, I promise you, baby, I'll get the money back. It was like, no, I'm doing this. It's for us, but it's me against me. It's a very different energy. But that's how I think about debt and investing. That's my mindset around using other people's money to close a skill gap to go crush my money goals. Okay, so shamelessly, I want to show you guys something because I feel like a lot of people hear me talk about locked and loaded and you're like, okay, so certainly Xtina is a great marketer and certainly Xtina can make a whole bunch of money, but what actually happens in her communities? Why does she keep on talking about locked and loaded? Because we talked a lot about quick wins in here. So if you're live, just to bring your energy back into the room, just hashtag the words quick wins. As yesterday I told you about the portal, and tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about locked and loaded, but I have to tell you about some quick wins because this is the nature of the space. When you become my client and you decide that I'm the person that you want to invest in yourself to walk with, you become a part of the locked and loaded community. I named it that because to me it's about locking in for a timeline, 6 months, a year, locked in to get loaded. Locked in, loaded. That's the community. The space has a couple different components to it that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, but this is just some of the stuff that happens in our space. Because when you show up in there, I am like a basketball coach. I expect you to show up for practice. I give you real-time drills to run. I show you how to execute. I give you valid feedback. I laser coach you every week. This is the vibe of the space. Because I don't want you coming in and sitting on the bleachers for a year in my space observing. I want you to get your ass in the game and get some quick wins. And I certainly expect that the results are going to outlast the coaching relationship. But you lock in for 6 months to a year to get loaded. So here's some recent celebrations that have happened just in August of this year. And they're pinned on my Instagram right now if you want to go read through them later. So one of our newest Locked and Loaded cohort members just joined in the last month. She signed up for a year in the mastermind. Inside her first month, she signed her very first $3,000 high ticket client. She'd never done that before. In the first month, she did. Within 2 weeks of signing that client, she also crafted a $2,000 upgrade service for this client because they needed it, and she realized it when she started delivering. So inside of her first month in the space, she made $5,000 cash, having never done that before. She now has an offer that she can sell on retainer over and over while she's in my space, and we can build on that and stack and scale it. But in her first month, she got her first high ticket client and an upgrade. That doesn't suck. She sent me screenshots and was just like in tears, like, I can't believe this happened. Now with Locked and Loaded, there's another client in there. She's been in there for 2 years. She decided to stay for her second year in the space. She said the very first year was so foundational. She really started to understand business for the first time. She walked in with a lot of spending time doing the wrong things in her company, and it wasn't very profitable. And I could hear it when we would talk about it at her company because we were friends. And I was like, you don't have the foundations of a business down. Like, come in. Her first year, she set the foundation. She's in her second year right now, and she's going completely viral. Her inbox is blowing up. She just had to hire a new team member that's completely commission sales only to handle the inbox. She's 4x'd her revenue since she joined Locked and Loaded. 4x'd her revenue. 4x. I have no doubt that she can be a 10x client in the next year. Not to mention just that viral piece. We've had a couple people this year inside of Locked and Loaded using our social media strategies go viral. We have another client. She went completely viral earlier this summer, and she has a group program for her coaching journey. I work with a lot of coaches and service providers, and she went totally viral, and she had 10,000 people. Sorry, was it 10,000 or 1,000? I can't remember what it was, but I believe it was like 1,000 applications filled out. I don't want to misquote this, but even if it was 1,000 people applied to take her program over a reel. This is the power of leveraging social media in your business. Another one of our 2023 Locked and Loaded babes just crossed $95,000 in her business for the year. She came from a more corporate job in like the medical space. She came home. She works exclusively from home. She's beat her best ever year in corporate America. This week, she crossed 90,000, and then she went straight to 95,000. She was celebrating in the chat just yesterday or the day before. She's like, oh my God, I'm almost to 100K. I'm at 95,000 right now. And she says that joining Locked and Loaded was literally the best thing that she'd ever done. She was shaking in her boots when she first did it. She did it pay in full. She was terrified. I remember talking to her in the inbox. I have chills down my back thinking about it. And she joined the space and never looked back. She showed up like a freaking champion. And she's about to cross her $100,000 from home with her kids, has not left her kids a day this year to go work outside the home. She's 100% working mobile, like from her laptop, doing her service provision. And she crushed her whole income from last year in the corporate space. If any of this is like moving you, can you just hashtag the word I'm next? The funny thing that she said was that on top of her hitting that $90,000 revenue and then 95 this week, she said, my husband didn't know that I was also signing him up for Locked and Loaded. So every time that I say something that she thinks is pertinent to her husband's business, because he's an entrepreneur, she would play my work and my words on 2x speed and show her husband. Her husband walked into the house last month with an envelope of $10,000 cash that he received as a bonus, alongside another $100,000 in extra bonus money paid to him at a meeting earlier that day. So she's hitting six figures and he made an extra 115,000, I think she said total, on top of their normal revenue. She said, my husband didn't know I was signing him up too, but I signed him up too. And he listens to you too. And it's working. Is that not insane? And by the way, if you have a partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, a team, I just fully expect that if you're one of my members inside of Locked and Loaded, I pretty much expect that you're going to share the trainings with your partner. I know when I get a training, I listen to it in the kitchen. Brad's hearing it. If it's a training that my team needs to hear, I share it with my team. I don't want to be the only one executing on this stuff. So if you have a team, just know I expect that you're going to share this with your team. A lot of coaches don't even allow that. They're like, do not share my information. Like, I'm like, no, duh, share the information. Y'all all better get rich off this. Just saying. I thought that that was the cutest thing ever. Karen Fegan said, I'm in. Come on, baby. Are you still selling Heelys? All right, here's another one. One of our cohort, she just joined in spring of this year, just joined in spring. She's up $80,000 in revenue, more than where she was this time last year. And she just crossed the $1 million threshold of the year this week. We send her flowers for the $1 million mark, but one of our clients, she crushed her $1 million goal early this year. She was already a high income earner. She came in to learn social media strategy, energetics, and how to maintain her energetic and emotional state to sign bigger clients. She's been signing bigger clients all year long. She's taken my social media sales strategy and she's applied it inside of a brick and mortar type of a position. She made $1 million already this year. And the last time I checked, she was $80,000 ahead of her last year's milestones at this time. So please know that inside of my spaces, there's people who are working on their first $10,000 and there's people who are already at $1 million, and there's everything in between, and there's no shame about any of it. No one's better than another person. We're all doing 6 and 7 figure strategies and crushing it together. And everything that I teach can be applied to brick and mortar. It can be for service provision. We've had realtors, we've had doctors, we've had construction companies, we've had graphic design. We have had a lot of coaches. I'd say 70% of my clients are coaches, but 30% are not. Isn't that wild? Another cute win. One of our 2022 Locked and Loaded clients just pulled me aside and told me that she had hit $175,000 in her company. I talked to her this last week. They had hit $200,000 in their company for the year. Touching base with a recent graduate, so someone who graduated earlier this year, I just said, tell me about your money. Like, what's going on? You know, how did you do? Was it worth joining? You were in for a year. She was one of my platinum clients. How did that investment pan out for you? I really want to know. And I found out that she has 3x'd her investment into our mastermind, and she only graduated a few months ago. She 3x'd her mastermind investment. She's still in that year-long bubble that I put on myself for a 10x. She hasn't even been out for a year and she's already 3x'd her investment. I said, okay, girl. What else? I have a thing where I help people to take the thing that they know in their head and turn it into a program. Has anyone ever done that with me? You can raise your hand in the chat if it's you. I have this thing about finding people's hidden skills or what they've learned in their industry before, and I help people turn it into programs, intellectual property, and courses and consultancies. And so one of our clients came in earlier this year. She had a goal to hit $25,000 months. And since she's came into our space, her private mentorship is nearly sold out. She's got a couple more spots. We're working on other offers for her, but last month she did an $11,000 month. Does anyone want an $11,000 month? Like, that doesn't suck. I never got $11,000 out of a day job. Not me personally. Maybe other people do, but I have never had an $11,000 month out of a day job. So she did an $11,000 month last month, and we're gunning for her 25K this year. That's our goal. We're going to get her to 25K months. That's my commitment with her, because she came in with an intention. So I know what we're gunning for. She didn't walk in limp dick energy, like, oh, maybe it'll work. I hope so. She's like, no, like, I want to make it this year. And I'm like, all right, let's go. So she hit 11K last month, and she's continuing to close clients. She just had a $5,000 week, which is on trend to get a $20,000 month. This is the kind of stuff that's happening in our spaces. Oh, and one of my last year graduates reached out to me this last week and told me that her family business crossed $1 million for the first time ever in 365 days. Another one of our clients who joined another space called the Sales Suite got her first $3,000 client, and she just showed me another screenshot, of like another $2,000 that just came in. So that's $5,000 in revenue in the last month. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we do in my space. And that's just the quick wins. You guys have to understand, like, this is what's possible when you decide that you want to grow your brain. When you decide that, yes, I am a really smart person, but the things that I don't know are what's really capping my income. So I'm going to go learn. And you put yourself in a community of people who are also really excited about learning and activating on quick wins. They're showing up for practice. They're getting guided. They're getting coached. They're getting out there and activating their businesses. They're committed to the win. That's what Locked and Loaded is about. Mastermind for entrepreneurs. And by the way, you don't need some huge audience to do it. We have less than 10,000 followers anywhere. And we average $1 million years now. It wasn't about having 100,000 followers. I have less than 4,000 followers on my Instagram. Like, it's not about having 1 million people. It's about knowing what to do with the people that you have. It's a skill. And I'd love to teach it to you. So that brings me to you getting the 10X principle. Yesterday, I talked about something called the portal pass. The portal. What's a portal? A portal is a doorway that you walk yourself through. A portal to a different part of life. So there's a portal open. There's a door open for you right now. It's called the portal. What this is my mastermind, Locked and Loaded, the actual mastermind component of it, it's $44,000 a year. So if you're live, write 44K, Locked and Loaded. That's what it costs to be in my year-long space with the mastermind. That gives you weekly access to me. I know your brand inside out. I laser coach you. I help you to develop your products. I help you learn how to sell. We crush your social media. $44,000 for a year. That's Locked and Loaded. It's my premier offer. Less than 1% of my audience buys it, but the people in there are a flippin' dream team. Right now, there's only 6 spots left in that space. It's selling out pretty fast. There's 6 spots left, and there's about 8 people in the inbox trying to figure it out. If that tells you anything, they're gonna be gone. However, the portal is a throwback to what I did in 2020, which was when people told me, the high-end mastermind that I wanted to join was $40,000, my brain melted. A, I didn't have access to that kind of funding. B, that scared the shit out of me. I didn't have the confidence to do $44,000. They had a vault of content for me to tap into. They had coaching weekly that I could tap into. They had live trainings running that I could go to and ask questions. And I was a heck yes for that, but I wasn't a heck yes for $44,000. if there's anyone here who feels that right now, that like you're like, I would love to be in Locked and Loaded, but $44 is a hell no, baby. Go ahead and give me the wow face. Like just pound the wow emoji for me. Just let me know who you are. So back in 2020, these people had given me basically a shot. They gave me a $10,000 opportunity to come in and just binge all their content. They had it in a vault. They said, all right, I'm going to give you, you're going to have a limited time for $10,000 and you can go and you can binge our content. You can come to any live training that we have. And once a week, we'll laser coach you personally, customized to you. It's about you. And it wasn't $44,000, it was 10. So obviously, I snatched up my credit card. I said, take my money. I put the money down. That several weeks that I was in that particular $10,000 investment changed the trajectory of my life. I know that there's people watching this that are like, I don't know that I would ever spend $44,000 on a mastermind, but Xtina, I want to know what the hell is in that vault, and I want to get coached. I want to come to your live trainings. I want to be part of the Q&As. I want some private time with you. Like, give me a shot. And for you, we've created the portal. This is a total throwback to 2020. So here's the vibe. The cart is open right now on the portal. It is not $10,000. It is not $7,000. It's not even $5,000. It's $4,444 for 4 weeks, an entire month of not only access to my $44,000 vault, so pretty much every training that I've done this year for sales copy, social media, offers generation, how to sell, client retention, everything I've trained on this year, there's thousands of dollars, like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of content in this trove. But it's not just a dead vault that you're going to go in and just binge content. While you're inside of your portal pass, any live training that I do, and I typically do at least 2 a week. Every Wednesday I train, most Fridays I train. You have access to come in live, be a part of any live training that I'm hosting. And by the way, the live trainings that are coming up are fucking phenomenal. They are fire. You want to be in them. You're going to have access to all of it. And on top of it, I'm going to give you 4 times where you can come in and have happy hour hot seat, which is whoever joins the portal, and we're going to cap it at 10 people. But I'm going to meet with you guys on Sunday nights or Mondays during the day. And I'm just going to laser coach you guys. So whatever questions that you have about business, about your brand, about possibilities, stuff that you want to launch, any questions that you have that you want my eyeballs on and you want direct feedback from me, I'm going to host hour-long spaces that are just for the people of the portal to get their questions answered. So it's not $44,000. It's a tenth of the price for you to come in and binge. See what you can get out of a month. See if a month can change your life. And at the end of a month, if you decide this is the right spot for me, you're going to have 2 options to stay. So if you're live, write 2 options to stay. This is how it goes. If you decide that this is for you, your first option to stay is an upgrade to keep the vault. So everything that I just said, all of my previous trainings that are in the vault, and it's like tens of thousands of dollars of worth of training. Plus, for a year, every live training that I launch. If I'm training, you've got it. For a whole year. Plus, select times to come in and get that happy hour coaching again, where you get direct access to me. So every week you have live access to me while I train and some direct access time to me. It's called The Vault. And The Vault just by itself, if there's no portal, if you don't do the portal, just the vault by itself, a year in the vault goes for 20K and half a year goes for 11. So I know my mom is live. Can you write down, Mom? A year goes for 20K, half the year goes for 11. So if you do the portal and you decide that you want to stay, we just apply your portal payment to wherever you want to stay. That makes your continuation a hell of a lot cheaper. We just apply it to the rest of the year for you. Or if you want to come and join Locked and Loaded, we'll apply your portal payment to the entire mastermind for the rest of the year, and you can stay on. If at the end of a month, you're like, that was amazing, and that's all that I could afford to do, and I like binged everything and I loved it, and this was phenomenal, and at the end, you can't stay, there's no shame in that. There will be no pressure sales. There will be no one shaming you or trying to make you stay. It's a pass. It's a pass to change your life. And if at the end you want to continue, we'll make a way for you to continue. We'll just apply your payment to something else. Does that sound fair? If it sounds fair, write fair. Now, there's one more thing that I want to announce here because I'm talking about some bigger price points. We've got the portal that's for $4,444. We've got the vault, which is 20K for a year. Half the year goes for 11. We've got Locked and Loaded Mastermind, which is $44,000 flat. So we're working with some big numbers. So there are people here that are like, well, shit. I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't know how I'd find this, but I could maybe put the portal on a credit card or do a split payment or something like that. Our team are the queens of helping you figure it out. So if you're somebody who wants to do the portal for $4,000 and you're like, I got balances on a couple different cards and I need to split it up, I want you to do me a favor and reach out in the inbox and tell us that. You don't have to go through the payment link. You can just reach out and say, I want to split this between a couple different cards. Jessie Ferguson is watching live. She can send you an invoice where you can split the payment between different ways that you want to pay. And there's no shame in it. We understand. We've done it ourselves. We've financed stuff and done split payments. You know, as long as the whole entire invoice is paid on a couple different cards, we don't care how you pay it. I don't mind at all. Get resourceful. And also, we have a third-party financing option. So if you're live, write third-party financing. We do have access to a third-party lender, and the neat thing about them is that they structure it on longer-term payment plans. So say you want more time to pay it off, you can opt for like 2-year-long payment plans, which we don't offer that as a company, but you can get it through third-party. So we do have a third-party financer. If there's someone who's like, I would like to apply for that, it is based on your credit, but there is third-party financing available to you. Just message us. Message me personally in my inbox here on Facebook, and Jessie will help you get connected to third-party financing, which is amazing. And I also have one more thing up my sleeve, and this is mostly for the people who want to do the vault or Locked and Loaded. I would say this. First, get started in the portal. If you do nothing else this weekend, just do the portal. And here's why. The portal is like your test pass. This is like the gateway drug. This is you finding out if it's right for you. You get to come in and watch everything, binge it on demand. You get so much access to me. And you're going to know within that month whether you want to stay or go. And there's absolutely zero pressure. But the other thing is we have another option coming, I believe, for third-party financing. We just found out about them, so we're in the application stage of it. We should know in 72 hours. But we think we found a third-party financer that's 100% approval rate, which means even if you've got fucked up credit, they'll approve you. We don't have it yet. It's probably going to take 3 to 5 business days to get it. But if you're thinking about Locked and Loaded, start in the portal now, because there's a high chance that we have a 100% approval rate for someone who wants to do Locked and Loaded or the vault. And you're just like, I just need someone else's money to do it. Is that freaking rad? Is that insane? Like, we just heard about this. We've been looking for someone like this. And I'm just over the moon. So the moment that we get it approved, it's going to be in lights on our website. We're going to do, like reels and video content about it because this is amazing. But the cart for the portal closes on Sunday. Our first call of the portal is Sunday night. If you're live, right, first call for the portal is Sunday night. Put it in the comment section. So no matter whether you're thinking locked and loaded, whether you're thinking the vault, or whether you just want to try it out inside of the portal, the cart closes Sunday and our first call is Sunday night. You got 3 different ways to play. You've got a doorway in front of you. You've got a chance to come in and binge $40,000 worth of content and get live laser coached with me every week for a month. This could change your entire brand. This could change your whole financial trajectory, and it's only 4444. So the cart's open now. We're maxing this out at 10 people, and this is, like, to me, this is the opportunity that I took in 2020, and I want to extend it to you. On that note, it is 9:30. We've been here for 90 minutes. This is my invitation to you. Set the 10x intention in your life. Know that whatever your financial goal is, expect that you're going to spend 10% of that to grow the skill. Give yourself a timeline. If you're going to come and get coached by me or anyone else, tell yourself, a year after I'm done getting coached with this person, I'm going to 10x my investment. And that doesn't mean to sit in the bleachers while the teacher's talking. Whoever you decide to get coached by, whatever investment you decide to say yes to, get in there like it's basketball practice and learn. Like, get in there and shoot for it while you're inside of the coaching relationship. And make a commitment to yourself that you're going to 10x within a year of the close of that relationship. I don't know if you are thinking that it's with me, but if it is with me, I cannot wait to work with you. And our inbox is open. Feel free to ask any questions that you have about whether this is right for you. Tell me what business you're trying to develop. I'll go back and forth with you in the chat and make sure that it's the right fit. If you need payment plan options, if you need to break up a payment, if you need third-party financing, just message us and let us know. My inbox is open always to you guys. I want to be of service. And I want to say thank you so much for being here with me for 3 days to shift and change your paradigm. I hope for the next month of your life, every time that you see one of these sticky notes around your house or these different mantras that you've got, that you think of this and you let go of any shame that you have about using other people's money or debt to finance your future. I pray that you know that you're worth it. I pray that you go back to the meditation where you met a version of you 5 years out that did nothing. And I pray that you have echoed and anchored in your memory the version of you 5 years out that said yes to your dreams and took action. I pray that these 3 days changed your life. And whatever you do, I just pray that you're never the same after these 3 days. For the best. All right, guys, I love you. Have the best weekend. My inbox is open. Hope to talk to you there.